What's up guys, and welcome back. Today we are doing the installation video of the 2020 Yamaha R1 Mutant kit from Bike. Let's take a look. So, starting at the front, to fit the 2020 kit on the 2019 bike or older, you will need the front bracket that comes with the kit. It has the air duct that goes from the front to the air box. It also has a bracket for your gauge. When you start removing the old assembly for the headlight, there's a lot of wiring stuff that you have to take off, and you have to bundle it up under here, which is a pretty good place to hold all the wires. Our is a bit of a temporary thing at the moment, but we'll tape it up later on in a more beautiful way. Ooh, that's heavy. That's quite heavy. That's like 3 or 4 kilos, maybe.
Yeah, it's heavier than the ABS.
We have a DB holders kit for the front also. I'm going to show you in a second, but we're going to take some parts off of the old original one. There's a flap over here which we don't need for track use, but here's an airflow sensor or something like that, so we're going to take that off and put it on the new one. And everything else, basically, this is the motor that operates the flap over here. Oh no, it's a solenoid. Okay, so it's a vacuum. Okay, interesting. We shall see what happens. Like 10 error codes when we fire the truck.
Probably, at least.
The air duct is held in place by 4 screws, 2 on each side of the frame. Now these from the factory have red Loctite in them, so when you start opening them up, don't worry, they're gonna feel pretty stiff, but it's gonna ease out and they will come out, don't worry about it. You will use those same screws to install the DB holders front bracket on the bike. So as you can see, here's a flap which closes and opens, and as you can see when it's closed, it's gonna restrict airflow, and it's actually quite heavy. It's like a kilo.
Yeah. You have lost like
5
kilos? At least
5, 6.
Yeah.
Something like that. This is the DB holders subframe, and here, if you come over, somewhere in here, we have a nicely packaged DB holder. Wait till you try this one. This is super lightweight.
Yeah, weighs like nothing.
That's really cool. That's nice. So basically, it's just a see-through hole. Nothing to restrict any airflow, which is nice. And then you have your instrument holder and the rest of the stuff here, and it's super light. Fitting the front bracket is pretty straightforward and easy. You just line everything up and put the screws in and install your gauge back on the bracket.
Yep.
Go. No. Nice. That is enough. Maybe that might even be more than enough. So you are going to need some tools to thread this back in, because there's still a red Loctite on the
threads.
Yeah, the threads inside and maybe also some left on the bolt. So you're not gonna be able to do it by hand, but just keep it loose until you get all 4 of them inside, and then you can tighten everything nicely so everything gets seated properly in place. Okay, so one more step to this. We're gonna reinstall the gauge or the instrument cluster on the bike, which is pretty easy with a kit like this. You keep the same bolts that you used before. You take the rubber grommets that are on the original instrument holder and you pass them through, just like that. There's 3 of these which you need to install. Nice. Then you're gonna push your gauge in. That. And then we're gonna bolt it back up. When you start installing the front fairing, you're gonna have to pay attention to the air duct, that everything fits at the front like it should. Now you want the fairing to go inside the air duct. The installation of the front fairing is really simple. All you have to do is line up the duct and put these screws in, and that's about it. That's all you have to do. You just check that everything with the wires and all that fits in perfectly, and nothing is in between the fairings or anything like that, and you're good to go. If, like us, you have an older R1 and you're fitting the 2020 Mutant kit on it, you will be able to use the original screen that you have on your bike, but it will require some modifications on the fairings. You're gonna have to check different places for the drill holes and stuff like that. I would recommend you to get a 2020 race screen or an original screen, either way you want it. I think it's a good upgrade to be able to use the original mounting points that Bikesplast has intended when using this kit. Okay, so the next thing we are talking about is the front fender. Now this is a super easy install if you keep a few things in mind. Even he was able to do it.
Barely.
On both sides of the fender you have 3 bolts. 2 in the front and 1 in the back. The one in the back is a little bit trickier. It has a nut on the other side, so don't lose that one. This install is super simple. All you need to do is take off the original rubber grommets from the original front fender. You will have to install those grommets on this new fender to be able to install it properly on the bike. Nice! There's actually more space between this fairing and the stock fairing to the tire, so it's a lot easier to fit the tire warmers when we get them tracked.
Makes sense.
Look at that fucking engineer. Just sitting in the fucking corner chair. Look at that shit.
Yeah. It's a Corona thing and you know, all this.
So the next fairing we're going to talk about is the middle side fairing. Now this is where you will need your Dzus fasteners that come with the kit. You will need 4 of them on the outside of the bike, 3 on top here and 1 in the bottom. 1 goes under the front fairing. The Dzus fasteners are very easy to use. All you need to do is line up the holes, put it in, turn it clockwise until it tightens up and holds the fairing in place. There might be a small clicking sound also when it's properly seated. If you have a 2019 or older Yamaha R1 and you're fitting this kit in, you will need a DB holder's ECU holder to secure it to the frame. The bottom fairing is a little more tricky than the things that we talked about before, but it's also very easy to do once you know what's going on. On the older R1, I would suggest that you do not drill these holes over here, because the brackets that are on the old R1 are not exactly the same as on the newer model. So the brackets are a bit of a problem because you might have to bend them around or do some custom work on them to get them to fit properly. But in our opinion, with all the other fastening methods over here, you will not need this bracket at all. Now we're gonna tape the bike, so trying this out is not a problem for us, but I hope this will save you some time in the future. Now the bottom fairing is fitted with the Dzus fastener over here, which connects it to the middle side fairing, and it also has a bracket over here and a bracket down here. Now that's already 3 bolts that the bottom fairing on this side is fastened with, which is very good in my opinion. It's very sturdy, it's not going anywhere, as you can see. The next bolts that you have are in the front. The front mounting points are at the bottom of the oil radiator, so pay attention and don't forget to install those too. The bottom fairings that Bikesplast makes are very good, and they are also race approved. They will hold liquids if something might happen to your bike, like getting coolant out or oil out on the track. It will save you some trouble, and everybody else on track too. They have very good heat shields in them, and also drain plugs, so if you're racing or riding in the wet conditions, you will be able to drain the water from the bottom fairing. When you go out and buy a kit like this, there's a few things that you have to pay attention to. One is regarding the bottom fairing. You have to choose if you have the stock exhaust still fitted or if you have a race exhaust, because it depends on the exhaust that you have which type of bottom fairing you will have to get. The other option you have to pay attention to is what type of tank cover do you want. You can go with the Superbike one that we have here or the original one. You have to make the decision what fits your needs best. We went for the Superbike one because it adds more support for your legs when cornering. So the original tank is a bit different than the tank cover that we have on. The original tank is under here, and we have only removed the small part of fairing from the front. The small fairing here at the front is very easy to remove. It only has 1 bolt and 2 pieces of Velcro on it. So just open up this bolt and pull it off. It will come off. You will feel like it's breaking, but it won't. So just peel it off. After that, you are ready to install the tank cover on your bike. Now, if you're putting on a tank cover like this, I would highly suggest that you will tape up the old tank that's underneath here. Just use a regular gaffer's tape or something that doesn't stick too hard to the tank. This will protect the original paint surface on the gas tank. Before you can install the tank cover, you have to remove the seat. So let's talk about the back fairings. The back fairings are very easy to fit. All you need is 4 bolts to secure it from top, and the bottom fairing is secured by a few bolts. Now these are very easy to replace on your stock subframe, but if you have a DB holder subframe like we do, you will have to be able to remove and reinstall or completely remove the ABS unit to be able to replace the subframe of the bike. So keep that in mind if you want to go for the subframe from DB holders. Other than removing and reinstalling the ABS unit, swapping out the subframe is not a hard task. You will have to take everything off, of course, but it's very easy and straightforward. We suggest that you take photos of all the wiring and everything so you are able to put everything back together as it's supposed to be. The subframe is attached to the frame with 4 big bolts. Now they are using a T50 Torx head, so make sure that you have that key when you start the process. We used a bit of blue Loctite on the bolts when we reinstalled the subframe. If you are running a CCU unit like us, you will have to fabricate a mounting system for it. Now the easiest way to do it is to get some thick Velcro and install the CCU unit right into the subframe. So as you can see, the installation for the 2020 Yamaha R1 Mutant kit from Bikesplast is very easy and straightforward. Again, I would like to say a huge thank you for Bikesplast for sponsoring us with this beautiful race fairing kit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're looking for race fairings for your bike, I would highly recommend you go check out bikesplash.com. Even if you don't have an R1 like us, they will make fairings for your bike. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Since we've been building the bike, this is the first time we ever started, so you get to come along. Let's hope it doesn't break or explode or whatever.